Hello and welcome back to Zeroing In on Health, the video blog. My name is Charles Washington and thanks for joining me once again. This headline said that half of treated addicts kick the habit after 6 months, but addiction is best thought of as a chronic condition, experts say. It goes on to say that after 6 months of treatment, most people are able to quit the drugs. However, the experts warn that there is a big danger of relapse, and permanently kicking the habit probably requires ongoing care. Now, the problem with rehab is that when a person leaves the treatment facility, they typically go back to their old neighborhood. They go back to the same environment that got them in trouble in the first place. When you go back and all your friends are on cocaine, some of your family members are on hard drugs, it's easy for you to get right back into that lifestyle. Now, this does provide optimism that the fact that a person with 6 months of treatment can indeed abandon their drug. However, this is tempered by the fact that many of those with a positive outcome still experience a relapse. So this prompted Dr. Thomas McClellan, the Deputy Director of the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, to observe that just as diabetes patients wouldn't only be treated for 6 months before being released without medication, so too addicts must be handled the same way. Addiction is best thought of as a chronic condition. There is no cure. Now, after reading Gary Taub's great work, Good Calories, Bad Calories, I was able to find some interesting information on this issue. Sugar, or sucrose, is a special case. Just like cocaine, alcohol, nicotine, and other addictive drugs, sugar appears to induce an exaggerated response in the region of the brain known as the reward center, the nucleus accumbens. According to Bartley Hobel of Princeton, when the nucleus accumbens is excessively activated by sweet food or powerful drugs, it can lead to abuse and even addiction. When this system is underactive, signs of depression ensue. Rats can be easily addicted to sugar, according to Hobel, and will demonstrate the physical symptoms of opiate withdrawal when forced to abstain. Now, when I say sugar, I'm talking about all sugars. That's all carbohydrates. I don't care if they're simple or they're complex. When they hit the tongue, they start breaking down into sugars. The only difference is some are longer chain, some are shorter chain, but they're all sugars. This idea that sugars are addictive also implies that with time and with significant effort, that this can be reversed, just like any other addiction in the body. With sufficient time and effort, this can be controlled. Your insulin levels will fall and the cravings will go away, and you'll be able to control both your hunger and your cravings. Dr. James Sidbury Jr. treated children with carbohydrate-restricted diets. He said that after a year to 18 months, the appetite is normalized and the cravings for sweets is lost. This change can often be identified within a specific 1 to 2 week period by the individual. Now, despite the clear evidence that these substances are indeed addictive and the problems that people have with them, as Dr. Robert Kemp explained, at least half of the patients, win or lose, cannot be persuaded to permanently alter their eating habits to save their lives. And this is the biggest shame. I mean, look, I've seen it firsthand. People will say, I can't live without my sweets. It just makes life not worth living if I can't have a sweet every now and then, if I can't have some cake or some pie or whatever. Despite the fact that this is making them unhealthy, making them obese, making them have all the diseases of civilization, people still are so addicted to this substance that they just can't give it up. And we hear the same thing when we talk about a drug addict. They can't give up their heroin. They can't give up their cocaine. Well, guess what? We can now add sugar to the mix. If you can't go to an all-meat diet and you just can't make yourself do it, I realize it's a physiological challenge as well as a psychological challenge. It affects your mind. It affects your central nervous system. Indeed, in your fat tissue, you have nerves that go through it, and you have blood vessels. It's not just a bunch of globules of fat. It's living tissue. And this tissue is connected to your central nervous system. So therefore, it shouldn't surprise us that when you get off the sugar, or you get off the coffee, or whatever addictive substance you're on, your whole body's going to quake and you're just going to crave this stuff. But as with any addiction, the first step is realizing that yes, indeed, it's a problem and something that you need to do something about. Just as our study says, you don't let diabetics out after just 6 months of care with no medication. The same is true for an addict. It takes a long time. And just as diabetics and sufferers of chronic disease need ongoing care, so too must a person battling an addiction. It's no surprise to me that you start the all meat diet and then after a few weeks or a month or whatever, you go off plan. But you know what? Going off plan is actually being on plan, because when you do, you see the violent reaction in your body when you try to reintroduce those carbohydrates and you see what's going on. Your body just screams to you that, hey, this isn't proper food. This is addictive stuff, and this is something that you shouldn't have in your body. So it's just common. I take it. I can understand. I know it's a hard thing, but with sufficient time and sufficient effort, you can do it. Once again, this is Charles Washington with Zeroing In on Health, and thank you for joining me for my latest video blog. See you next week.